Hey now, yeah, good morning. PSW staff, clients, and friends joining us. Welcome to Thursday, pretty much through the week. Just one more day and then it's Friday, right? We get to see your film scoring results for Jason and the Argonauts. Great work. I'm really proud of you guys with this. We've had a really, look at our week. Franz Liszt, the great pianist, composer, Hungarian pianist and composer. And then, how fun was Claude Bowling yesterday? Tons of fun, right? The crossover music that Baroque and jazz. If we were to do Bach and Scott Joplin, get Claude Bowling. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun to do. Today I'm homesick. I know you're homesick, so we're going to go to the town that you love, John loves, Megan loves, Lloyd loves, Bonnie loves, my parents love, you guys love, LA, our home. We're going to look at another very, very important park, art center, and particularly a woman who was very, very important, which is cool because I didn't really know this. So we'll almost have too much fun today, but we'll contain ourselves. Today we're going to look at Barnsdall Art Center. So, it's Barnsdall Art Park, Art Center, Art Park. It's a whole little hill. Out of nowhere, right near Griffith Park, there's this beautiful, gorgeous hill. And, it's located in East Hollywood. They called it Olive Hill. Because why? Because of olive trees, right? There are a lot. We're going to talk about that. And this is right in LA, right in Los Feliz, kind of considered Los Feliz now. And we're going to, there's a lot of information and, we're going to have a lot of fun. Before we get into it, we're going to talk about all of these things. We looked at Bradbury Building last week, named after Louis Bradbury. Most of these parks, Griffith Park, Griffith J. Griffith, funny kind of name. All these parks usually are named after people, and it's important to look at these people. Why were they? Usually you need money to have something named after you, but also vision. Sometimes they had a big part in creating this environment, and this was a woman. So today we're going to look at Aileen Barnsdall. She was really, and I was thinking about other people we've looked at women throughout history in LA. We looked at Dorothy Chandler. If you remember, Dorothy Chandler was married to Norman Chandler, who was the owner of the Times, and I kind of thought about her because she brought the Music Center to Los Angeles. She was very prominent in the 60s and building the Mark Taper, the Amundsen, the Music Center. She did a lot of arts for the city. So pretty influential woman. But Aileen was really pretty cool. So this hill, Barnsdall, overlooks the city of Los Angeles. The Hollywood Hills are right there. Griffith Park is right there. And then the Hollyhock House is there, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. It's a National Historic Landmark up there. So before we get into Aileen and all of these, the history of it, 1919 to 1921, this is when they start building the park. Okay, so she was a feminist back when it was not fashionable to be a feminist. She was a feminist, a radical, progressive, she was unlike any other woman. She was called the Don Quixote, the female Don Quixote, really. But she was interested in bringing art and bringing theater to Los Angeles. And which is really, that's amazing. So she's born in Pennsylvania. Her dad made a fortune in oil. Born in 1882. She dies in Kentucky in 1946. But during that, was mostly involved in theater in Chicago before she comes to LA. So this is like 1900s. And she starts a small relationship, intimate, but also a friendship with a very provocative architect, Frank Lloyd Wright. You've probably heard of Frank Lloyd Wright. Well, she's responsible for bringing Lloyd Wright, Frank, to Los Angeles. And thank God she did, because some of his most gorgeous buildings, the Ennis House, all came after that. But this was the first one that he built in Los Angeles. So she brought this great architect over with her to Chicago saying, build me an art center. I want an art center. I want a theater. I want all these little things for actors. I want to teach also kindergarten and teaching theater to kids. She had a real vision for, and you know, when you got the money, you can kind of do whatever you want. So Frank Lloyd Wright, I mean, American architect, designer, writer, educator. I mean, the guy designed more than 1,000 structures over a period of about 70 years, and very, I mean, just spectacular architect. I mean, you can, when you see his buildings, houses, you want to say, oh, I wish I want to live there. And he did it throughout the whole country. So when she comes out to LA in 1915, she commissions Frank Lloyd Wright to help her develop this theater company, community rather. She wanted this community on the Hill. So it's 36-acre site in East Hollywood, known as Olive Hill, like we said, and they worked together. That would include a home for her and her daughter. Now, she was a single mother. Single mother in 1919 was very frowned upon, but she was a bohemian. She didn't care what other people thought. She knew the man that she had the baby with, but she wanted to raise the baby by herself. She was Sugar Top was the baby, the nickname. And she wanted a director's house, a dormitory for the actors, studios for artists, for shops, and a theater there. In the beginning, there was over 1,000 olive trees. So it was olive orchard, and it was the work of Joseph Spires. He was a Canadian immigrant. He came to LA in like 1880s, okay? And he became one of the first big real estate brokers for the Los Angeles Electric Railway. We looked at the electric car or the subway, and that kind of went away in the 40s, 50s with the automobile, unfortunately. Now, in 1916, before she starts developing, this was also the set for the film Intolerance. D.W. Griffith, one of the first film auteurs that really created modern day storytelling, film, creating the first feature film. So Intolerance, the cool set, was up there beforehand. So they start so 1919 is when construction begins. Well, in the world, what's going on? It's a year after World War I ends. World War I is 1914 to 1918. So everyone's, that World War I is huge. Interesting little tidbits. I mean, rotary dial telephones are invented this year. So, before this, every call you made had to go through an operator. You always say, operator, get me this. But this invention in 1919 allowed for people, they can dial their own numbers. Pretty big. And then also, we've talked about a few weeks ago with the tunnels and Prohibition. This is also the year Prohibition goes into federal, the Volstead Act, on January 29th, 1919. And also 1919 is the year that Mussolini establishes the Fascist Party. I mean, that's going to be the creation of the Italian National Fascist Party. So that's going to be really bad because, as we know, Hitler's going to come in and things are going to be happening. 1919, what's happening in LA? Well, Charlie Chaplin moves to La Brea, right? He creates a whole little community of motion picture making. We did a whole class on the Charlie Chaplin studios that went into the Jim Henson studios, and then before that, it was Herb Alpert, A&M. So that's going on. Musso and Frank's, one of the oldest, most famous restaurants, opens in 1919, and that's still open today. You can go get a martini and a steak. Charlie Chaplin would go there. F. Scott Fitzgerald would hang out there. A lot of big, watering hole for a lot of artists and stuff. Also, the LA Phil in 1919 is founded. We did a class on that, maybe the third class, by William Andrews Clark Jr. And so they don't have a home yet, but they're established. So so that's what's going on when she starts constructing this with Frank Lloyd Wright. Now, he was also involved in another project in Tokyo. So his son, Lloyd Wright, it's kind of funny that his name is Frank Lloyd Wright. His son, Lloyd Wright, is also a great architect. He also did a very creepy, and we won't do a class on, very creepy house on Franklin that was known to, you know, it's a little some dark history there, but he also did a lot of Mayan architecture, you know, influence and stuff. So Hollyhock, it was not named after anybody. Usually all of his other houses were named after people, but it was actually named after the hollyhock flower. So that's why it's called the Hollyhock House. And it was a transition for Wright from his famous prairie style into this pre-Spanish Japanese architecture. This kind of Mayan Japanese style that Wright would call California Romanza. And the Hollyhock House is also Wright's first courtyard house. So why do you think that? Because California is perfect climate, and you can have a courtyard where the weather here pretty much is perfect every single day. So you can have this. So you can go between indoor and outdoor very easily and leave the doors open and windows open. I mean, isn't this house just gorgeous? I mean, wouldn't you want to live there? Well, Aileen, who had him built it for her, did not want to live there, even though she thought it was cool. She found it kind of a pain in the ass, and she was like, so she didn't even live there in that house. She lived down the street on Edgemont. She said it was just, it took her whole staff to open the front doors, and it was just, you know, everything leaked, and it was too small. So I don't know. I would still take the house, but it was kind of funny that she was like, okay, this is the house you built me, but I'm going to live down the street. In 1926, she gives all of this land up there to the city of Los Angeles so they can use it as a public park. And in the 50s and 60s, additional art center buildings would go up on there. A modern theater, an art gallery, studios, they were all built up there because this was part of what she wanted it to be. And in the 90s, Olive Hill, the restoration progress was completed, and they restored a lot of the original olive trees, which is lovely. So there's live theater, there's live dance, there's lectures, there's films, there's spoken words and other events, and it's still going on today. You can still take it, you can drive up there for free. It's a park, you can read. There's tours of the Hollyhock House that take you all around, and it's so cool that this art community that she was very prominent about wanting her vision to have like an artist colony up on this hill, and the hill is so gorgeous. I guess on some days you can even see reflection of the Pacific Ocean because you're kind of on top, even though the ocean's way far away. It's just a gorgeous little hill up there. So I don't know. You want to go up there sometime? I think that would be fun to do a little picnic up there because it's free. Just to walk around and all that stuff. So just a little history of Aileen Barnsdall, badass woman. I mean, really cool. And Frank Lloyd Wright, and how great his architecture is. And it's just right in our backyard, right? Kind of in East Hollywood, like Sunset and Vermont. Those are kind of the streets. So hope you enjoyed that. Miss you and love you. And tomorrow we're going to see your film scoring results for Jason and the Argonauts. Hey now. Okay. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and see you tomorrow. Okay. Bye.